Hello, BookTube. Our unending library tour continues. We are circling around this room. That's all we're doing, and yet it's been how many hundreds of videos? We're circling around this room, book by book, without skipping anything except the bookcase that the camera is currently resting on, my bookcase of workbooks, of new releases and forthcoming books. I skipped that completely because I couldn't talk about any of them. So now we are in the darkest depths of Mordor. Now we are in this recessed, shelved area built into the wall that, because it's a recessed space, I have, like any book person would, I have filled it with books. And we're going through that. We did the first shelf, and that was all mass market paperbacks. And now we're finished with that at long last. So we are now doing the second shelf, which will not take us long. I'm thinking 3 videos for the second shelf. Then we go on to the bottom, which is not a shelf, it's just an open space, and it is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. Looking at it right now, I honestly don't know how I would even physically do this library tour. There's a part of me that's tempted just to skip this bottom area and move on to the rest of the wall. Except that sort of defeats the purpose of this whole thing, so I will have to find a way. But anyway, we'll do this middle shelf. And the first book is by Jonathan Holt. This is book 1 in the Carré trilogy, and this is The Abomination. As you can tell from the cover, this is a novel, a thriller set in Venice, and I really liked how it did that job. There were quite a few thrillers set in Venice, and they usually don't do a lot for me. Books set in Venice, just in general, don't usually do a lot for me, because I want the book to remind me of the place where I lived. And if it doesn't, if it reminds me of, if it gives to me something instead that is just a picture postcard or a fabrication of some kind, then it might be interesting for other reasons, but it won't be interesting for its setting. And this, I was originally alerted to it by the old mystery columnist Irma Helbin for Open Letters Monthly, who really liked this author. So I read it and really liked it. It's one of the few Venice novels that I've kept. These are not mass market paperbacks. Oh, fantastic. Okay, this is volume 1 in, this is the University of Chicago, is that right? Soho. This is Soho. It was distributed by Soho. This is the collected writings of Margaret Millar. And this volume includes, the title of this volume is The Master at Her Zenith. And the books are Vanish in an Instant, Wives and Lovers, The Great, Sublime, Utterly Brilliant Beasts in View, An Air That Kills, and The Listening Walls. And this is an author who wrote slim, ice-cold novels throughout her whole life. They were classified as kind of Jim Thompson-esque cerebral thrillers, but they're really much more than that. And this, the publicist, the person behind this reprint series, just decided, as a passion project, to do them all. And when you put them all together, they form, the spines form a picture. And this was years ago. I don't know when I first got this. I read it hungrily. This would have been probably 5 years ago, something like that. Let's find out, just to be sure. 2016. So 3 years ago. And I am sure that since this book came out, the other books in this series have come out. This is something that I would actually go into a retail bookstore and buy, because I don't have any of the others. I don't have any other volumes except this one. And if I remember correctly, the plan was that the final volume was going to reprint a lot of her slim volumes of nonfiction, which are, you won't find them otherwise. So I cannot recommend this author highly enough. If you like that particular kind of 20th century writer, the Jim Thompson, the early Muriel Spark. If you like that kind of writer, you're going to love this author, and you might not have ever heard of her. To this day, one of my primary examples of the glory that can happen through U.S. reprint culture. But I really need to get the other books. Those I would definitely own, even though I have my beady fisheye on almost all of this fiction to go. I don't come back to fiction as often as I would need to warrant keeping it. Those I would keep, and those I would come back to. Oh, okay, all right, great. This is the UK trade paperback of Alan Hollinghurst's The Sparsholt Affair. Just a lovely thing. And the American hardcover dust jacket of the Sparsholt Affair was so ugly that I didn't keep it. I didn't bother to keep it. I just went on Book Depository and got this. And then the American trade paperback of the Sparsholt Affair came out, and it's quite lovely too. It was only that American hardcover that was ugly, but by then I had this, so I don't really care. And I'm a big Hollinghurst fan, so I kept it. Oh, okay, all right. This is an advance copy of Vikram Chandra's Sacred Games, an enormous novel about a cop squaring off against a gangster, but there's so much more than that. This is just a whole world. And I don't know, has Vikram Chandra done anything since Sacred Games? This is about, what, 15 years ago? Oh no, this is 2007. That's a long time. I don't know if this author's done anything else, but boy, oh boy, did I love this book. Just one of those big, entertaining books that you can just sink yourself into. Speaking of which, oh my. All right. This is Alan Moore, the famous crackpot and creator of The Watchmen, who wrote a novel. He wrote an enormous novel called Jerusalem. Now, when this came out in a hardcover, it was ugly. Really, really, really ugly. And also poorly made. The hardcover backing of my hardcover popped off when I was halfway through the book. This is 1,100 pages long. So your hardcover has to be durable. And the one I got anyway was not. It was just a piece of crap. And I don't know how much of an effect. I might just be shallow enough a reader so that had an effect on me when I was reading it, but I didn't get it. The book. I didn't get it when I read it through that first time. I thought this is supposed to be fiction, but a hidden society of sorcerers, but it doesn't feel like fiction. It feels like just a long, rambly memoir with fictional elements crammed in now and again. And then when I read it and forgot about it, and then I got this beautiful paperback. This is by, who did this? Liverite. They did this beautiful paperback, just gorgeous, and nice and solid. And so I think this has reviews in it. Yes, this does. This has reviews in it. So I read it again and found a lot more in it. I got a lot more out of it the second time. So I might read it yet again as well. Let's put these out of the way here. Okay, this is a trade paperback of The Once and Future King by T.H. White. I got this for free, so I reinforced it and kept it. I have a couple of different editions and sizes and whatnot of The Once and Future King, but I reread this book and chunks of this book a lot, so I'm always willing to have a trade paperback, a nice big trade paperback. Oh, okay. All right. This is the great P.D. James. This is an Adam Dalgliesh mystery. This is Original Sin in a trade paperback. This is the Dalgliesh stories are fantastic anyway. All of them are, but this one is set in the publishing world and really displays a lot of James's peculiar habits as a writer. Her ability to infuse a whole long, detailed backstory into every single thing that moves, whether it's coming back in the book or not. Some fans of hers have said that that gets a little exaggerated. I love it. As far as I'm concerned, she's such a great storyteller that I would listen to her tell the backstory on breakfast. So Original Sin, I believe, is the only P.D. James that I have kept. And unless maybe I kept her nonfiction book on writing mysteries, that might be here somewhere. Okay, this next one is a trade paperback of a novel by H.F. Saint called Memoirs of an Invisible Man. If some of you are old enough, you may remember an absolutely wretched movie starring Chevy Chase that was an adaptation of this book. There's one of the few instances where the book is much better than the movie. This is a terrific novel. It's an adventure story. It doesn't have any real deeper implications to it. It's just about a man who is accidentally turned invisible at a scientific demonstration that he's visiting just as an onlooker. And that's all it is. It's an update of H.G. Wells' Invisible Man. And the thing that we tend to forget about invisibility is that if you don't have any control over it, if you can't turn it on and off, if you just turn invisible, it's a huge curse. That point is made abundantly clear in H.G. Wells' book, and even more so here, because this guy is suddenly totally invisible, far away from home, and even the very basics of how to deal with his condition. How does he even drive home? I mean, how do you drive a car on the freeway to get back home if to everyone else around you on the road it looks like the car has no one in it? How do you get back into your building? And how do you conduct finances? How do you get food? All that sort of stuff is handled in much more granular detail here than Wells would ever have thought to do it. And it's just page-turningly fascinating. It really is. I keep going back to it, even though invisibility books are a dime a dozen. Okay, this is an advanced copy. This is a review copy from long before we were talking with each other. Yeah, this is from a review copy from 2003. This is Stephen Graham Jones. And this is All the Beautiful Sinners. Sort of road crime, Texas murder, serial killer drama about a serial killer who is working on a much grander thing. It's not his serial killing aim is not just to kill people. In his case, children, twins that he abducts during tornadoes. It's also to build them into a much bigger thing. In other words, a total fantasy. But still, the writing here is fantastic. And the deputy who becomes more and more obsessed with stopping this person in the course of the book is a terrific character study. I don't know anything about this author. I don't think I've read anything else by him, and I don't know if he still has a career. I don't know if these books are well regarded or totally forgotten. But All the Beautiful Sinners is, if you're interested in cop thrillers and serial killer thrillers, it's one to find. You won't have heard of it, and it's one to find. Okay, this is a fairly recent edition. I think we saw this on this channel just recently. This is by Christos Tsiolkas. This is Barracuda. This is the author of The Slap, in which a man at a suburban cookout, confronted with an unruly child not his own, slaps the child. And the whole reverberations that come from there. This is, I think, a much more complex novel. It's about a young man who is consumed with multiple passions, one of which is to be the star of a swim team, hence the title and hence the cover. But he's also consumed with a whole bunch of other passions, and they catch up with him in the course of the book. I love this author. I love the way he writes, so I will probably keep it, and I would probably keep anything else of his that I come across. I don't, at the moment, have a copy of The Slap. I did at one point. I remember I had a UK trade paperback, but I'm pretty sure it's gone. Okay, this is Doug Jones. This is The Court-Martial of George Armstrong Custer. And this is a counterfactual historical novel, one of the best ones I've ever read, right up there with Guns of the South by Harry Turtledove, in which Custer survives his massacre, the massacre named after him. He survives Little Bighorn, and stands trial for the death of his men. And all of the figures involved in it are brought into court, and we have a dogged investigator who wants to get to the bottom of things. And there is a larger story, but it's fascinating. Just the might-have-beens here are just fascinating. And I thought all of the portraits were done really well, too, of all the individual players. Okay. Okay. All right. This was self-published, subsidy published. It was a small publisher anyway. I came across this through the Historical Novel Review back when I was an editor there. And this is by Francis Hunter, and it is the fairest portion of the globe. And it looks a little boring, but it is not. It is a terrific, terrific novel about Lewis and Clark. Full of zingers and one-liners and great quoted passages and epic drama, hair's breadth action, lots and lots of humor. It came out of the blue for me. I didn't know what to make of it. I was very happy to have it. So I just held on to it. Although, once again, like with All the Beautiful Sinners, I haven't really done due diligence to find that author and keep up with her work, and I should do that. Okay. All right, this is Deborah and James Howe. This will be familiar to some of you who have kids. This is Bunnicula. Today, vegetables. Tomorrow, the world. About a pet bunny who may or may not be a vampire. And if the bunny is not to blame, then who could be to blame? So, of course, I have Bunnicula. All book collections must contain Bunnicula. Okay, this is by Jay Asher and Jessica Freeberg, and it's illustrated. It's a graphic novel illustrated by Jeff Stokely, and it is Piper. It is a a YA graphic novel take on the Pied Piper of Hamelin, in which the Pied Piper is a super hottie. That's not how he wields his power. He still has his piping ability. But I don't know why I kept it. I liked it, but not enough to keep it. I thought it was an inventive kind of tale, an inventive kind of elaboration on the tale. Okay, all right. This is from relatively recently, right? This is from 2017. This is The Correspondence by J.D. Daniels. A book about fathers and sons. I want to have a game of catch, and don't cry in front of them, and all that sort of modern dude bro American father son nonsense. But I thought it was really well written, so I didn't get rid of it. I had nothing but contempt for its contents, and yet and also for the blurbs on it are from just a who's who of dude bro writers. Just but that's all that this is just, the old man. Hey, old man, you're not crying, are you? Hey, that sort of thing. And it's not a long book, but I was halfway through it before I was thinking, if either one of you came out as gay to the other, this book would end with you killing yourselves, with one of you, the father or the son, killing with fire the other person. So don't tell me about ineluctable bonds of fathers and sons. This is all ridiculous. But the writing was so powerful that I liked it and I kept it, which is kind of strange. Okay, this next we have 3 copies of Edward Gorey's sublime fable, The Doubtful Guest, which is it's a story about a creature who comes and he's a guest in a home and no one knows who he is or where he comes from or what he's doing there, and they just put up with him. I love it. I, of course, can't have a book collection without Edward Gorey, at least some, and that's mine. Okay, this is Merlin titled. This is not fiction. This is The Secret Lives of Bats, which is really the author. The author is sort of the grand old man of contemporary bat studies, and this is The Secret Lives of Bats, but it's also his life with bats. I think probably a better title would have been My Life with Bats. But either way, you will learn a lot about bats, their roosting habits, their mating habits, their hunting habits. You will also learn about the author as he grows up, studying them and gets more and more opportunities to find them in the field. No way that I wasn't going to keep it. Just not sure what it's doing lodged in with all this fiction. Oh my, okay. All right, I don't know what this is doing out here. This is by an unknown author named Steve Donahue. This is Belisarius' Hero General Man. It's just a little pamphlet thing. I was working in a bookstore, and one of my coworkers was taking a publishing course, and she needed a book, something of prose, so that she could use it in her class for getting an ISBN, for contacting printers, for aligning things and making gutters and page numbering and all that. And she asked me, and I said, sure, I have this one story that I've been working on forever. I've worked on lots of other things, but there's one story called Belisarius Out in the Dark, Running, that I have been working on over and over again. I can certainly give you the introductory chapter to the latest version of that, and you can just use that. So she did. She retitled it, but she did. She retitled it. She gave it a horrible title, and she also put an anachronistic piece of cover art on it. But that's what you can expect if you get published. So, so this is, in fact, this still remains the only thing of mine that has an ISBN. So of course I kept it. Okay, this is also from 2007, I believe. It's a pretty little thing. No, not. Yes, 2005. This is 2005, and this is Brokeback Mountain by Annie Proulx. This with the cover. It has no other short stories. It's just this. It was just this little paperback, and I don't have any other Annie Proulx except for Bark Skins. But I got that because I think I got it from the publisher back when it came out. Okay, this is from 2014. This is by David Enya. This is On Earth as It Is in Heaven. A novel by an author who just recently did a nonfiction work about immigration. This is a novel about young men and masculinity and boxing, and it's about a long list of things that should have alienated it from me. Instead, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I believe, if memory serves, that it made my list for best books of the year or best debuts of the year, something like that. If I remember, I will go and find it. Okay, the next one is by Louis Bayard. This is, I believe, his debut novel. This is called Fool's Errand. He has a new book. His new book is out, Courting Lincoln. It's a historical novel about Abraham Lincoln as seen through the eyes of people that he knows. It's terrific, absolutely terrific. Don't miss it. Get it from your library. One of the best Lincoln historical novels that's ever been written, and one of the best things this author has ever written. He's just continued to write books. This is an utterly charming gay novel about a young man who goes to the house party of a couple of supercilious friends of his, and he's suddenly so exhausted that he finds a secluded room upstairs and just takes a nap. And his nap is interrupted when a man enters the room and says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were in here," and leaves. And our narrator is in that groggy state that accompanies naps. I don't know why you people love them so much. They seem to me to be horrifying. But that groggy state where you can't quite know what you've seen and what you haven't seen. And the glimpse of the man in the sweater, that's what the narrator remembers, is the sweater on this shapely body. The glimpse of the man in the sweater somehow metamorphoses into the narrator believing that is the man he is destined to be with. That is the one. And the bulk of the book is this madcap, totally impossible search where he tries to find this person, where he tries to find the person who interrupted him upstairs. Interrogating his host makes no headway, but eventually he is looking in the course of this novel for a love that has completely evaded him. And he's thinking, this might be, as crazy as it is, this fool's errand to find this person may be the way I find that person. And it doesn't quite work out that way, but oh, does it work out. This is such a wonderful novel. I'm glad I kept it instead of giving away every copy. Okay, this is a Penguin trade paperback, a lovely subdued thing of Hotel du Lac by Anita Brookner. Probably my favorite Anita Brookner, although I intend to revisit this author in 2020. I'm going to read everything all over again and appreciate it. I don't think I've ever read anything by Anita Brookner that I didn't really like. I think she's with me. She's undergone a kind of reverse momentum because her books are so small. They're so skinny that a part of my brain tends to discount them. Same thing's happened with another author that we're going to see on this shelf. And that's not right. Of course, that's wrong. You can pack a lot into a little, especially if you're smart. I'm a huge fan of Muriel Spark. I don't need her books to be any longer than they are. And this Hotel du Lac is sort of, Anita Brookner is sort of recognized as one of her better books. And so I kept it, but I really want them all. I will be going on Book Depository in 2020 and getting them all, unless the Brattle provides. The Brattle may well provide. Okay, this is we've seen this before. This is just recently. This is The Three Martini Lunch by Suzanne Rindle, a historical novel about the publishing industry in the mid-20th century. I thought it was really good. The parts of it about the publishing industry were really good. The relationship stories, the personal stories that were thread throughout here were a little weaker. Probably weak enough so that the disparity between the two means I shouldn't be keeping this, but that's the whole point of these library tours, is to thin out the stuff that I will not be keeping. I will certainly be keeping this one. This is a gay classic. This is by Matthew Redeman. This is Boy Culture, which was, I think, adapted into some sort of series. This was a hit of a book in a minor way, and it's about boys who turn tricks. It's about the boys who sell themselves, but it has a tremendous heart to it. It's not just about that. It's about one boy in particular who every time he goes out on one of these jobs, he hopes that he's going to find someone. It's a crazy place to look for someone, but he hopes every time that it's going to be different. Then he opens the door, and as he puts it, there's a monster standing there. Beautifully written, just wonderful. It's an odd pairing with Fool's Errand. They are completely different kinds of gay novels, but still. Okay, these next three are recent. These are from, we've seen these develop on this channel. These are Angela Thirkell. We have Pomfret Towers, Wild Strawberries, and High Rising. And I like Angela Thirkell, but I want to reread her. And I want to reread her in these beautiful trade paperbacks. And I don't know, I wasn't clear. I got one of these at a thrift shop. and held it up on camera on this channel, and one of you very kindly sent me 2 more. But I'm a little unclear so far. I haven't really looked into it on whether or not there are more in this, with the nice border and the original illustrations. I'm a little unclear on whether or not there are more of them. But I'll gladly get them when there are, and this will be a rare instance where I'm getting it for its format. I like that format better than any mass market I've ever seen. Okay, and we'll finish up with this one. This is also a thing I love for format. This is Penguin's most recent reprinting of all of John le Carré. This is Our Kind of Traitor, but they all look like this. And Our Kind of Traitor is not one of my all-time favorite John le Carrés, but I want all of them in this format. I've resisted going to Book Depository and just buying them all, because I sort of want to find them at used bookstores this way. I don't, as of now, I don't think I have any other than this one. I don't have The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. I don't have Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I don't have, I don't have all of the John le Carrés that I really love. Instead, I have one that I like but don't love. But I kept it because I want ideally to have all of John le Carré in this edition. I just haven't done it yet. And that is enough. We will stop there. That is the first half of this middle shelf. And if I am self-controlled, we should be able to get this done in one more video. And then I don't know what. We will move on to this bottom space, whatever it is, and do the best we can. I don't know what to do. I'm going to have to pile stuff on the floor, and that's weird. But first we'll deal with finishing the second shelf. So we will come back to it, and I will see you then. Thank you, or two.